My man, Paul Herman.
Gee.
You actually don't need an introduction.
Oh,
You know that, right?
well, I mean, hey, look, I don't think I do need one, but I'm just the Prince of Motivation. That's
Well,
all it is,
well,
man.
well, I'm going to give you one anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
introducing my man, Paul Herman. How
Oh,
far? How far do we go back?
I mean, just go past 20 years at least.
What year did you graduate from Sacred Heart?
Oh, four.
2004. So I graduated in 2002.
Yeah.
Are you 40?
Oh, yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Congrats. I'm 42.
Look at
I
that.
did some quick math.
Cool.
I'm a 2002er Sacred Heart University
Okay, yeah,
graduate.
that's
So
right. That's
now
right.
we won't talk about the fact that it took me 9 years to finish my 1 year master's degree, but I got it.
That's right. That was one thing that I remember throughout the whole process. People were like, look, my man's still here. But look,
Yeah.
you got it.
Was that who is the? There's a movie about a guy who like spent like 12 years in college. Was that Van Wilder or something?
Oh, yo, shout out to Van Wilder.
Shout
It
out to
wasn't,
Van.
what's the homie with the speaker? He held it up.
Yeah, that's
That
me. That was me. I elongated my college experience a little bit.
was...
All right. So the Prince of Motivation,
Yeah, yeah.
pressplaymotivation.com.
Yep, that's
That's
right.
your website. Tell us about that.
Uh, uh, I mean, where do I even start? I think the first place I want to start is like how the whole press play thing started off. I
Sure.
think over the many years, I've kind of like cultivated a lot of my talents, and I feel like it's kind of like broken down to like five major areas. One area is MCing. I'm very good on the microphone. Well, I think I'm very good on the microphone. Just MCing parties and
You're incredible on the microphone. I've heard you.
thank you, thank you. Whether it be kids parties, adult parties, corporate parties, whatever the case. But just kind of MCing. The next thing is hosting. I do a lot of events like fashion shows where I'm like on stage and accommodating and like help coordinating those kind of things. Then after that, I do a lot of mentoring. Throughout my many years, I've had an intense background in business, athletics, and also just as as an artist as well too. So I've been able to kind of mentor people, movement. I've been dancing my whole life, so I
Yeah.
coach people on movement. And then lastly is motivational speaking. So all of that together is a big thing, and it kind of like equals the whole press play movement.
Yeah. And so 3 words on your website that I noticed, because by the way, your resume took me about 3 days to read through. It's very impressive. Entertainer, teacher, motivator. Does that
Yeah.
does that describe you, Paul?
Definitely, I feel like that. It definitely is three areas in which I like to mainly focus on. I feel like as a student, my whole life learning and training to then get to a place in time. I tell people you're not an artist unless you give back. And I
Sure.
feel like as a teacher, it's a way for me to do that, but also do mentoring. I
Love it.
like I've always been a part of like big brother organizations. My fraternity back in school, Omega Phi Kappa.
Hmm.
I was vice president, president. So there was a lot of times where I had leadership positions where I had to kind of help those people out. And then as an entertainer, my whole life being Caribbean, growing up in the Bronx, growing up in the '80s where hip hop was originating at that point in time. Just being that close in it and being right on the pulse, it's kind of giving me that whole mindset of like, all right, big stage dancing, and
Love it.
never knew it was gonna end up like that, and it
Love it.
did.
Love it. So let me blow up your head a little bit. Right now, you've worked with artists like, and tell me if I'm wrong here. This is from reading your resume. Chris Webby, Sean Paul, Alicia Keys, Kat DeLuna, Chris Brown, Rihanna,
Mm.
Sierra,
Yeah.
Serrani, Flow Rider. Who am I missing? Who am I missing?
You're missing your name too.
Oh, well, don't put me on there. I don't belong. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Am I missing anybody big there? I don't want to. I don't want to sell anybody short on anything. I mean, those are some impressive
Yeah.
artists to work alongside.
I felt like, phew, I mean, there's producers I work with, photographers, videographers, anyone that has a passion for arts, and they're really about that life. I definitely will put them on that type pedestal of like that level. But maybe other people that people might know, Lil Wayne, Sean
Well,
Kingston.
yeah, I think they might know Lil Wayne or Sean. Yeah, those are
Oh,
pretty big. You got to get those on the resume. If I missed them, I apologize.
true. Sometimes you can't fit them all
You
on
can't fit them all. That's a
I got
great problem.
if like maybe your work resume, you had to kind of figure out what you want to put on.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, hold up. No disrespect to Sean Kingston and Lil Wayne. I'm just like, they're at the bottom of the list right there.
I would put Lil Wayne on there.
And now Lil Weezy, I'm
Little
saying.
Weezy. Yeah, I would put Little
Yeah.
Weezy on there. So wait. So I'm gonna blow your head up a little more. Organizations, ready?
Mhm.
Radio Disney, 17, Reebok, Telemundo, Pepsi, the American Music Awards, MTV,
Mhm.
Staples. Am I missing any?
Yo,
I did my homework.
you really went in.
I want to be Howard Stern.
Yeah,
Without the
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? This is a podcast for the people.
I'm trying to be Kevin Hart.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about what we're gonna do. This is very simple. We're gonna flow. We're just gonna talk.
100%.
I want to talk about young Paul Herman before we get into this good stuff.
Young
All right.
Paul.
So take us back. Where did you grow up?
Born and raised in the South Bronx, the Boogie Down. Shout out to anybody
Boogie
listening
Down.
right now. Boogie Down Bronx. I will always claim that.
Okay.
Rep that. I know I live in Connecticut now, but I go back and forth between New York. But that's where my family's from. My family's also Caribbean background. My mother's Jamaican. My father's St. Lucian. So I had that Caribbean background growing up in the Bronx back in the 80s and stuff like that. But I'm originally from the Bronx, born and raised. And then I got the opportunity to kind of go to college. And I was thinking about going down south to a lot of those predominantly black schools, universities. But my mother and father were like, look, kind of challenge yourself, Paul. Like, think about outside of the box. I went out here to Sacred Heart University. And at first, it was a culture shock. It was something that I wasn't really prepared for, in a sense. Like, they don't prepare you in the Bronx to be like, look, you're going to be the only African-American person in your class, possibly. When I was in a room full of a whole bunch of Spanish and black people, if that was the case, or people of color.
Yeah. Well, bring it back before college, though. So elementary school, growing up, you have siblings?
Yeah, I have siblings. I have a younger brother, which shout out to Babyface Brian. That was my business partner
Of course.
and partner in crime over here for many years on the dance floor. I have an older brother as well too, Steven. He's out in LA right now. He's a filmmaker.
I don't think I knew that. He's a filmmaker?
Yeah, filmmaker. Got a couple of movies and some scripts out there as well.
Wow. So the entertainment's in the genes.
Yeah, I feel it is a little bit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Sister, she lives out in Canada with my nephew and niece.
Okay.
And she's doing an amazing job out there. She was originally the dancer in the family. My mother and father were able to get her to kind of take some classes. But as time progressed, when we were like, look, we want to dance, they couldn't afford it at that time. So, we had to kind of learn by being in the street. So a lot of originally when I started off dancing, it was like doing a lot of the YMCAs, the Boys and Girls Clubs, doing a lot of free events. And I never knew, growing up, like no one's telling you like, if you want to be a dancer, this is what you got to do.
Right.
These are the steps. This is the blueprint.
You got to create it.
You got to create. You got to just go from the ground up, scratch, So I really just kind of like the things that I did was like a lot of dancers at the time, growing up in my time, we would watch DVDs, Paula Abdul, Jennifer Lopez, Janet Jackson, and seeing how like even like Michael Jackson, seeing like the people on stage, the tours, like the award shows, I was very big on that. Soul Train, Don Cornelius.
Yep.
Shout out to that video music box. I used to watch these things and be like, how could I be in those shoes, not knowing it's a profession?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like, just get on TV and just do your thing.
So Justin Timberlake, what do you think?
Shout out to Justin. I think
Great
Justin's,
performer.
I think Justin is one of those individuals has kind of crossed over that threshold of like, not just being an artist, a great artist, but a performer and entertainer.
Right.
This guy is very versatile. He
Right.
could act, he could sing, he could dance. He's wearing a lot of hats. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people in the game that could do that. So shout out to him.
So while we're on this subject, I want to ask you your opinion, and it'd be blunt. What did you think of the halftime show for the Super Bowl this year?
With Dre and all that.
Yes.
First off,
I'm gonna tell you my opinion,
Okay, go
but I
ahead,
want I want you to go first. But I want to see if what you say is in line with what I say or what I think about that performance at halftime. Now, I'm by the way, I was a huge fan. Eminem,
gotcha.
Dre, Snoop.
Oh, yeah,
I'm with you. That's the music.
Mary J. and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I had a lot of love for it because I love when I see the dance friends that I have actually getting those opportunities.
Okay.
And being on that platform. So if it wasn't the artist that I was paying attention to, I was paying attention to like who of my friends
Interesting.
that were actually in there. So to see people from New York, LA,
So you knew
Atlanta,
people who were dancing there for
Yeah.
them. Interesting. So you watched it through the eyes of the dancer.
Yeah, I sometimes I have to go back and forth. I gotta be like, all right, Paul, what are we really watching right now? Like, pay
Okay.
attention to the show. But I'm like sometimes so glued into like my friends and the energy and seeing them smiling and having
Yep.
a good time. It reminds me like this is why I do it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then to be able to call them after and be like, yo, how was that experience? And then
Right.
be like, yo, it was amazing.
Yeah, so that music is the music that I remember growing up, right? That's what I listened to, my CD, my tapes. That's what I listened to. So the music I was in heaven listening. But and the reason I'm bringing this up is you were talking about Janet Jackson and people that actually, put in hours and hours of
Yeah.
working at the dance routine and being in sync and all that. And it was a little, when you watched Snoop and Dre and Eminem just kind of,
Just pop up.
they're
there
just,
and
what are they doing? They're doing this.
they lean back and
They're-
forth.
how much time did they put into that?
I mean,
if any?
sometimes you gotta learn how to lean and rock.
You got
That can
right.
take some time.
Yeah.
But you are right. I think there's all types of performers,
Mm-hmm.
and it calls like you got someone like Alicia Keys. She might just sit there and just hit the pianos, but still hit like her performance is sick. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got Adele who doesn't even dance, but her vocals is like that's it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to a lot of these rappers, sometimes they, especially they're of age as well too, where they're like, you know what, I don't really need to do too much.
Right.
My music alone is gonna move you.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. When you're in I feel like, and I know nothing about the business, so please be like, hey, just stop talking. Ask me the question. But if you are up there and you are doing a 20-minute presentation or 20-minute, dance, how many hours would you say go into choreographing and learning the dance?
Oh, I mean, it could be hours, to be honest with you,
Right.
because depending on how intricate that set is, you could have, because you got to remember, like, especially something as large as a Super Bowl, you're not just dealing with just the dancers and the artists. You got to deal with the camera crew.
True.
You got to deal with the lighting crew.
True.
So everything has to be so time precise because the camera's flying in. You have to move out of the way while the camera flies in. Dancers got to be at a particular spot before the camera switches from camera one to camera two.
True.
So it could be hours of just rehearsing not only
Yeah.
the steps, but to get it right. Because when you're in that rehearsal room, one thing that to kind of paint the picture for you, sometimes you're not the first time actually being on set is the time you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in the room and they're like, okay, the camera. No, it's like pretend there's a camera that's gonna fly across,
Right.
and you have to visualize like how fast is this camera gonna come across me?
Right.
Or when is that spark coming up from the ground? How
Right.
high is it gonna hit? You're like,
Yeah.
you don't know until you actually get there.
Right. So I see the dancing and watching all of your stuff. It's an art, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got 10 or 12 or 20 people literally doing everything in sync.
Mhm.
And that's an art. That takes work. And that's what Janet Jackson did well.
Yeah,
Michael,
all
right?
them, yeah.
And then you watch Eminem, and he's taking a knee and for whatever he believes. And I'm gonna be like, listen, man, show me some talent. Show me some Paul Herman.
And you
Where's
know
the
what
Paul
they
Herman
do?
in you?
They do it in a different way. What they do is that they make the music to have the dancers behind them do all that stuff.
I got you.
So the training and stuff that you're talking about being precise is still happening, but happening on two different types of on the same stage, but in two different areas.
Yeah.
You got the artist who's gonna kind of like walk around and kind of motivate you and kind of get you to sing along to their song, but then
Right.
you have the dancers behind them
Right.
who provide that eye candy and show that precision and show like
Yeah.
we were in rehearsal trying to get this down.
Yeah.
Granted, Eminem and them probably popped up once in a while to kind of be like lean and rock. with
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Did you get the lean? All right, I got the lean. All right, perfect, good. They don't even sweat.
It wasn't hardly. I don't think they were sweating.
Nah.
I mean, Snoop was probably sweating a little bit. He was, maybe for different reasons. But
When them lights out there will hit you too.
the lights,
The
right?
lights, yeah.
That's why you have to respect all those oldies that went out there and really put the time in and sang,
Yeah.
didn't lip sync and sang and
Yeah.
danced, and they were
Yeah.
choreographed, and that really makes the whole thing more artistic.
It is it's something that that's why I think dance, I'm so happy that the dance is at a level now where people are really respecting it
Yeah.
and putting it on a top of not on a higher pedestal, but something where they're like they could appreciate it
Yep.
on different aspects, because commercials, movies, you name it, all different types of organizations now are saying, look, hey, look, we got an event, let's get some dancers. Hey,
Right.
we need some music, let's get some dancers.
So throw a number out. If you have a 5-minute halftime entertainment show, how many hours are you putting in with the dance crew? Are you putting in 50 hours? Are you putting in 100? Is it 5 weeks of 8 hours a day? Like what kind of time goes into preparing? I mean, you danced at the American Music Awards, right?
Yeah.
Who did you dance for there?
Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys. Okay,
Yeah.
so how much? Take us through that. How much did you prepare?
When we first started off, we had rehearsals in the city at
Okay.
first. Alicia was out west in LA at the time, and I want to say we probably had like a couple, 4 or 5 hour rehearsals before we left. So let's
Okay.
just say we had 2 of those just to kind of like prep ourselves, make sure that we understood the choreography. Now the choreographer was already out in LA, Tanisha Scott, dear
Okay.
friend, and also mentor to Brian and myself when we were coming up in the game. So you got the 4 to 5, the 4 to 8 hour rehearsals prior to us leaving, and then we get out there. There's another top, we probably had another 5 hours out there as well too. So roughly around say 15 there, but then when you get to set, you got to rehearse again.
Okay.
So altogether maybe 20 hours just for that.
Yep.
You
And
know.
then you have homework too?
Oh,
Is it
without
like,
doubt.
oh, here we did this 20 hours, but now you're gonna go home and stare in a mirror and
Oh yeah, now there's a lot of things. That you got to figure out what works best for you on that stage.
Okay.
Everyone is hired for to be a part of the team, but everyone's hired for their own particular reasons too.
Got it.
You know, like, hey, look, we love your smile, we love your energy, we love how you whip your hair. You know, we love the way you interact with the crowd. So you didn't have to say, okay, how do I do that without pulling away from the group that I'm with? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, got
And
it.
you know, a lot of these dancers being booked like individuals. Like, hey, I don't even know you, so I got to build a relationship with you, make us look good together to make the artist look good. So there's a lot of things going on
Got it.
that it is definitely going to take some homework. So that means maybe sitting down having a coffee with somebody. You know, in my situation, hot cocoa with marshmallows. I don't do the coffee thing.
Oh, okay. You're a hot cocoa guy,
Oh,
marshmallows?
all day.
All right,
every
like my
day.
kids.
I ain't never left that alone, man.
Love it.
Swiss Miss was my thing.
Swiss Miss with the marshmallows.
Oh, all day. And
Marshmallow
sometimes I
mix.
rock with the rainbow marshmallows. They
Oh,
taste
okay.
good
I
too.
don't think I've ever had those.
Oh, it's official.
Really? All right, I'm gonna get some.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell my wife. While we're just talking about this and people you dance for, Chris Brown and Rihanna, you got any info on that? Anything you can share?
I think the one thing I can only share, I mean, obviously I haven't really done a lot with them in a long time. You know, I think that the one thing I can remember when we finished the American Music Awards in 2007, we were at this is our first after party of like an event, like in a big event, right?
Yeah, because that's a big event.
Usher, Chris Brown, Beyonce, Jay-Z, like everybody's in the room, right? And I'm looking around the room like, yo, Brian, like, that's the person right there. Like,
Yeah.
we're right next to them. And mind you,
How close were you?
oh, like, is this?
Like this?
Like, imagine going to the club right now and just standing next to somebody at the bar. Like, it was that close because remember, the after party was only made for those individuals.
I see.
Anyone that was a part of the crew or was a part of, or the artists themselves, right? So it wasn't like people from the outside could pay money to come in.
I gotcha.
So everyone
It was real elite.
Yes, the top of the top, right? So I'm sitting there like, all right, so at the time, Brian and I myself were like, look, everyone is being social and networking, but we can network with them, but we didn't really have enough to offer at the time. It wasn't like we could be like, hey, we're Paul and Brian, like, yo, hire us. Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
don't want to do that type of
Were
thing.
you kind of like trying to pass, like, go up to like, you know, Mace and be like, hey, by the way, did you see me there dancing? Or like, did you try to be honest? Did you try, or
Nah.
were you just really there to celebrate?
The way to celebrate and the way to make that happen is through your work ethic. So what we did is we got on the dance floor, started dancing. So
of course you did.
So at that point, it's like clockwork. You know, they're standing over here at the bar, they drinking, and like, oh wait, hold up, you look at those
You're
guys.
doing
right there.
flips.
Oh nah, chill. I don't do those things no more.
I saw a video of you somewhere doing a flip.
Yeah.
Was that a bar mitzvah?
Woo. Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
I give it take maybe like 3 years or so.
You don't think you can do a flip anymore?
I mean, I'm very mindful of what I do nowadays.
You look good. You look like you're in shape. You know.
Try to be. I mean, I have a personal trainer at times that I work with. I go to a lot of like CrossFit gyms that I work out of
Awesome.
at times, and you know, just in personally, like my dance company, they keep me in shape as well too.
That's great.
Like training and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how you can't be in shape doing the kind of dancing that you do. You know.
yeah, it definitely gets demanding. But I feel like you could start to get out of shape if you take away the dancing aspect. You could become a teacher and kind of be like, I don't got to do that too much.
Oh, let them do the dancing.
Yes, that's right. So I still try to make sure I'm still a part of the dancing. So at that time with Chris Brown and Rihanna, like when we were on the dance floor, Chris and his brother battled me and Brian at the time. So it was crazy. It was like Brian and myself was on the dance floor. We pop locking.
2v2.
2-2.
Okay.
Felt like a basketball game.
Really? Did you
And
take
like-
him out?
Homie, Breezy, where
Stupid
you at?
Stupid question.
Nah, it's
We should
not.
have brought Brian in.
You know, I don't think it was like a friendly, because a lot of people say, yo, who won, right?
Yeah.
And I think personally when it came down to it, Breezy at the time, like, he wasn't trying to like beat nobody. He was trying to, one thing I loved about him at that time, he was actually watching and listening and learning what people were doing. That's how he's become an amazing dancer.
Right.
He watches other people and it's like, pulls it in. He's like,
Wow.
all right, that's what they did. I'm going to do that next week at my show.
Okay.
At the end of our performance, Breezy invites us over to the corner to come chop it up with him. He's like, where y'all guys from? So we're talking to him. And as he's talking, he's sitting in front of us, but someone's holding him and hugging him. So I'm saying like, yo, my man, I can't see who's behind him. Because it was like a stage, you know, like back in the days.
Yeah.
So you got high school sweetheart hugging you and stuff. Homegirl puts her head around, it's Rihanna.
Okay.
And I'm like, but mind you, this is before they even, like, it got out there to the public. So I'm sitting here like, yo, Brian, that's Ree right there, and that's Chris. I don't know if we were supposed to see that.
Yeah. Well, and so did anything coming out of that, or was that the first time that they?
That was the first time. That was the first and only time we ever saw them together.
Okay.
Like at that close. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like hugging each other versus like
That
in,
didn't work
in
out too
passing.
well with them, did it?
Slightly didn't, man.
Slightly didn't. That's okay.
Yeah, but I'm glad that they're in better places now. Rihanna
Yeah.
got a baby on the way, so
Nice. You
shout out to
talked to
them.
her?
Nah. I don't got these people my numbers like
Oh,
that.
okay.
I try my best to kind of never overstep those boundaries.
Yeah.
If I need to find them, I can find them. Like
Right.
trying to reach out to other people and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's never to the point of being like, "Yo,
Yep.
Rihanna, I need your information." You know.
All right. So back in the South Bronx, did you grow up in a house, apartment? What was life like? Growing up young.
We grew up in an apartment. We lived on the 23rd floor in their building. It was a 1020 Grand Concourse. Very popular building in the Bronx, right?
Okay.
It was like the center of like it was a nice building, but it was still surrounded by like the gangs and the violence and the drugs and stuff
Okay.
like that. So like you could be in my building and be downstairs in the lobby and be like, oh, it's a different world. But then you go down the street and it's full of Bloods. You go down the other
Yes.
street, you full of Crips, and go down the other block, it was full of Latin Kings and Nietas. So everywhere you went, if you wore a certain color, like it was already gonna be a
So you had to be careful.
yeah.
So what type of things were you exposed to at a young age that maybe, weren't the best?
I think that one thing that I was definitely exposed to was definitely the drugs. When I was at the basketball courts, that was like an area that we would go to. I mean, where we going at that time? No one had cars and
Right.
stuff like that. So we had our bikes, and I would see like these guys, like it was obviously selling weed, but then at that point, people selling ecstasy. There was other drugs as well too out there. I feel like that was something. But then the gangs were like massive. When I was coming up, there was a time period where the Bloods were like in an initiation phase where they were like, you got to cut people to get in.
Mm.
So during Halloween, they were like running up on anybody. It doesn't matter if it was your grandmother, your mother.
And cutting them?
Just giving them, they call it a $150, a permanent smile, right? So from like ear to ear, just like the Joker, right?
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. They would just run up on you, cut you, like, and that was the way of getting in.
Right.
I think another thing that was crazy in my time frame was that there was a time where they were telling us not to touch payphones anymore because they would put in needles that had like HIV, AIDS, and stuff like that, or any
Wow.
type of sickness inside of where you get your quarters back.
Wow.
So it was, when I say it was rough, because it was like you trying to, I mean, back then we had no cell phones, you had this beeper, and,
Right,
if,
right.
and that was if you had a beeper, right?
Right.
You still had to go to the the payphone. So you go to the payphone, the quarter would drop. You would be so afraid to put your finger in
To see.
because if you got pricked, you probably would come out with some type of sickness or disease. And stuff.
Wow.
So people who were like very sick or very sad would do these things,
Right.
or people in general just evil.
So what did you do to stay away from all that? How did you occupy your days as a young lad?
I think one of the things that helped is my parents. They were definitely like even though my father and mother had different lifestyles, and my mother would be here in the afternoon, my father would be here in the nighttime, and like they would kind of alternate. I feel like they were trying their hardest to kind of keep us like level. And I shout out to my mom and my pops, for doing that. And also my older cousins, they did a wonderful job in kind of keeping us level because every time we were out, we were like, all right, we're gonna stay out there until 8 o'clock. But then I'm like, nah, I'm staying until 10. But at 9 o'clock, that's when the drug lords would come in.
Mm-hmm.
So my cousins were like, they gave me that street smart information. My parents were like, look, you gotta have faith. Things are gonna work out.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But I think
Did you go to church as a family?
Yeah,
Was
we went to
part of
church
your life?
at times. My father was very big on that.
Mhm.
So the church thing was there. But I think one of the things was community.
Sure.
Like we had a large community of people. So if at one point in time we know that the courts was looking a little suspect, we would go to our grandmother's house and play basketball. So
Okay.
we had options.
Okay. What did your parents do for work?
Mother was a flight attendant at one point. She
Okay.
worked for like Northwest Airlines, so we were able to fly around the world. That's how I got to see the world at a young age. At one point,
Wow.
visiting Paris, Bermuda,
That's cool.
the St. Croix, Jamaica. So like my mother would be like, "Look, we're gonna fly standby if there's extra tickets."
Love it.
So we were flying out. Father's like an engineer, at a big building down in Midtown Manhattan. One of those like buildings where all the big wigs were in.
Okay.
Like the owners of like basketball leagues and teams and stuff. So he was like the head engineer in the building. So we used to go to his job, and I'm like, Dad, you in the basement? It's burning down here. But he was like, this is my job, and
Okay.
I love it.
Right.
My mother was a flight attendant, and then at that point, she kind of switched careers. But one thing that I noticed about my mom at a young age, she kind of gave me the business mindset as well. Because when she used to travel out to like Europe, she would buy like the Louis and the Fendis and the Pradas at a very low price out there in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
come back here and sell it in our apartment building.
For
So-
thousands of dollars.
Oh, well, I mean, whatever. I don't even know what she was selling for at that
Yeah.
point in time. But she would turn our apartment into a store.
Okay.
So she would be like the big ticket items. You would walk through the kitchen, and that was like the small, like a shirt or a scarf or something, right? But then you went to the living room, the dining room area, and in the dining room area was like the big ticket items because
Okay.
it was like it was next to the window. It was natural light coming in. So
Your mom was a hustler.
oh, she was hustling for real.
Wow.
Then
That's
as
where
you
you got it from.
then you got to the closer to the door, it was the small items, just like at a grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she like, oh, do you want the keychain? You could get the keychain from Paris. I bought these magnets, you know.
Okay.
So people used to come in, and that was my first time actually getting the minds, the eyes. I want to say getting that insight on business,
Okay.
and that kind of inspired me to then travel out and head out to like Sacred Heart.
Okay. So then you go through middle school, right? Were there any sports in particular that you played organized? Were you a baseball kid, a basketball kid, or did you just play kind of street with your friends? What did you anything organized that you did with your brother or
I did play basketball at one point when I was when I was coming up, but I was too short. I felt.
Okay.
I was like, be real, Paul.
Uh-huh.
By the time are you really gonna grow? That's the real question you gotta ask yourself, right? And all the girls made fun of me. They're like, "Oh, Paul, you got small feet, little
Come
hands,
on.
and you just a little guy."
I don't see that, man.
My head was big, right? Like not big because I was gassing myself up. My body just didn't match my head. It was like
Gotcha.
my head was like this and my body was like that, right?
Okay.
But as time progressed, I felt like I kind of filled up good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
This
man, you
sweater
look
right
good. The green, it looks great. The green on green. I mean,
Oh,
you're representing well
here.
today.
Hey, look, I knew I was coming down here.
You
I
knew
had
you
to
were
come through.
coming.
I knew I had to do something. But I did track and field. And
Okay.
that helped me out get a scholarship to go to Sacred Heart University.
All right. So let's talk about that. So, high school, did you start track in middle school or high school?
I started in the middle school, but professionally,
Yeah, organized, right?
organized,
Yep.
right? Got into when I was in high school.
So what events did you do? So now let's move forward. You're in high school now. You're a fresh. Did you do as a freshman? Did you try out for track?
all year, all 4 years.
And what events did you do?
I was a sprinter. I was more into the 400. My coach had me training the 800, but I was more like trying to train for the 400. Michael
Okay.
Johnson, one of the Olympic
Yes.
runners, was like the guy that I was following.
That was the guy back then.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to go visit his facility in Texas this summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you did the 400 was your main. 8. Did you do any other events?
I mean, I ran the mile. I mean, I ran the 100 meter dash. I moved around in order to perfect the 400.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's all that training helps you ultimately, right?
Yeah,
If you could do those middle distances, and we ran track, at Sacred Heart, so I did the same, right?
That's right.
That's when I forget that I even
Yeah.
had an ounce of any kind of that stuff in me, but I'd have a heart attack now, getting the mail. But track is a great. I think the most well conditioned athletes. Are track and field athletes.
They don't get a lot of credit.
They don't get a lot of
They
credit.
don't.
Some
They
people are like,
don't.
is that a sport?
Yeah, like when it goes into the Olympics, people are like, just turn the channel. I'm like, my man,
Yeah.
like these people are
Just turn the
breaking
channel.
world records.
Exactly.
You know how fast these people are moving? Like,
Are you a Usain Bolt guy or are you a Michael Johnson guy? You sound like a Michael Johnson guy.
I'm into the Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
Usain Bolt, I think he's amazing, and he's Jamaican too. So
Yeah.
shout out to him.
He's got some great motivational stuff out there.
Yeah, no, he does.
If you
And
follow him.
he's come. Yeah, of course. He's come a long way, and I think that Jamaica has done a phenomenal job, like really like cultivating these athletes.
Yeah.
Like with the limited amount of resources that they have,
Oh, absolutely.
to get Usain Bolt out of there is just.
Why are you Jamaican so fast? Do you have like an extra muscle or something in your leg? Like what's going on? How are you in the 4x100 meter relay? It's always the Americans, the Jamaicans. Like, how are you guys so fast?
I think that comes down to like the way we were brought up. I feel like one thing that I could definitely admire about the Caribbean, it was like the organic food, like being right there and grabbing like a mango from the tree versus like the mango went to this place, to this place, to this place, to this place, then at Stop and Shop, but then it went to the back room and it came back out. There's so many hands that's being passed through. Like this is like you literally grabbing it right from the tree. So I think a lot of things were very organic and things are like you were that close to it, right? Nothing was like processed food.
Right.
And the sun, the UV rays and vitamin C, vitamin D, the vegetables that you're eating, the green is like green like this chair. Like the broccoli look like this.
Yeah. Wow.
You're like,
so now we know the secret. We
Yeah,
got
some
less McDonald's in the America.
shots at McDonald's, they held me down a lot of years.
Me too.
When I couldn't hold myself down.
Me too. Too many.
Them chicken nuggets had me down.
Oh, they are good.
Dollar menu.
So with track, what type of accolades did you experience in high school track? So obviously you mentioned you got a scholarship.
Yep.
to Sacred Heart University. It's a Division I track and field program.
Yep.
So you must have done pretty well in high school.
Yeah, you know what? I did a decent job within high school. I think when I left out of high school, I think I was running like a 56, 55. And I was like, damn, man, I wish I could run like a 50 going
Of
into
course,
college.
that's what you
So I
want.
could go from 50 down to 40. And
Mhm.
and to the listeners, if we're talking about the 400-meter dash, so the 400-meter dash, the fastest person right now is at a 43, like 43 seconds, point something.
Yeah,
Just letting
yeah.
you know, one lap around the track,
One lap.
43 seconds.
One lap.
That's extremely
It's
fast.
a long sprint.
Yes. Woo.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a
it
long
is.
sprint.
Yes. But I think the accolades, I was captain of my team. I went to a lot of great meets where I was really like one of the top athletes
Right.
at the meet. So I was very happy to see that. My family members got to come see me too. That was like my first, I want to say, arena kind of event where like people banging on the walls and screaming.
Yeah.
That roar was like always like something that I loved. There was like
Yeah.
there was this place in Manhattan called the Armory.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh, I know the
indoor track.
Armory.
Yeah, you know
I
what I'm saying?
competed at the Armory.
Yeah, right. So that indoor track, people banging on stuff.
Mhm.
That was like, it felt like a gladiator.
Yeah.
Like as you were downstairs
Yep.
and you would hear doom doom ka,
Yeah.
doom doom, and I'm like, guys, we got the 4x4 coming up, man. Get ready.
Yep.
And you can see like your competitor like running past you. And you're like, all right, I got something for you. I got something for you. And then we would just get on the track and just leave it all there.
So what's the age difference between you and your brother?
40. Yeah, he's 38.
38. So, same high school or no?
Oh no, different high school. Brian went to a public high school.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you went to Sacred Heart, you spent a couple of years both in there? Both
No,
at Sacred or no,
Oh
did
no,
he not go to Sacred
no,
Heart?
he went to RIT.
Oh, RIT.
Yeah,
Okay.
he went to
All right, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he went to RIT, and then after that, he went to Fairfield University.
And
No, he
he's-
went to Hofstra first.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. He went to RIT, then to Hofstra,
Okay.
then to Fairfield University.
He graduated from Fairfield University. So that's why he was
Civ-
around. Because I
yeah.
saw him a lot. If he was
Yeah.
coming up to these parties,
Yeah, right.
you know, then he probably wasn't going to all his classes.
Yeah, no. See, he went civil engineering. He graduated civil engineering or electrical engineering, if I'm correct. One of the two he graduated from. But yeah, he got his degree. That was one thing that my father was very like adamant about. Like, look, you guys, I don't care what you do.
Get that
Right,
degree.
you gotta get that degree, at least for me.
Right.
And at that point, I want to help you figure it out.
Yeah,
but
do what you want, but get the degree.
yes,
Yeah, so your degree is business management and marketing, right?
Mhm.
From Sacred Heart's Jack Welch School of Business. Phenomenal program,
yes, it
right?
was. It was.
So, congratulations. I mean, that's got to be a great accolade for you to get that degree and then actually have the choice to say, you know what, I got that degree to fall back on, but I'm going to go a different path right now, entrepreneurial, right? So track, it was great, kind of got you to Sacred Heart. Now, how do you and I know each other?
Oh, gee,
You know, we're gonna keep it PG, but you know, I can remember just meeting you and
orientation.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right, because I was an
That's
orientation leader.
right.
But I can remember seeing you. I think you lit up the dance floor then, and I can just remember seeing you out. I can remember seeing you at school sanctioned events, right? And Flick, right? Where was
That's
it?
right. Flick.
Flick. Remember Flick?
Yeah, you gotta get that good food.
Get that good feed. They're not there anymore.
Nah,
It's
it's
gotta
a new spot, and it's a new name.
It's a
for
new
it.
name for them. But Flick was, you know, that was where we'd hang out, get lunch, get food, and you would walk in and you'd have it was like having groupies. It was like, right? You had groupies, you probably had them since high school following you to Sacred
Well,
Heart.
I went to all boys school.
Okay,
maybe I
so
had
maybe the
some
groupies were
yeah.
after school then. The
Yeah.
all girls school up the road, were they your groupies?
I mean, we had a sister school and
There you
stuff
go.
like that. But you know,
I went to an all boys school too, so
Oh, see,
I
like,
understand.
when I went to Sacred Heart, you know, it was I feel like I had groupies came from not just like
Bro, you had groupies.
well, females, males, teachers.
You had
administrators,
everything.
I think I was just a loving person. Like literally,
Totally.
I would go around and just like meet everybody. Because that was one thing my father said. Because I kept on going back home because I felt like I didn't fit in, right? And my father was like, "Stop coming back home to the Bronx. You need to stay there." And I'm like, "But Dad, they don't speak my language. They don't move like me. They don't dress like me." He was like, "Look, I do not care."
Did you feel like you were one of the only minorities in the school? I mean, because I obviously I went there. We're only 2 years apart. You could see there was some diversity, but I don't think it was
Nah,
probably like, you know, that apparent.
How did I feel when I was at Sacred Heart? I you know, the minorities were there, but we were so spread out.
Okay.
And if we did see each other, it was because of sports. right?
Okay.
I didn't really see a lot of minorities in my classes at the time, so it was a little bit like a culture shock when my first visit
Is
to
that why
school.
you were going home?
Yeah, like because it was like it's sometimes
What did you
hard.
say, Dad? Why are you home? I'm not comfortable, or I feel
I think the thing that I expressed to my father, I tried to say it in a very nice way. I was like, Dad, look, it's not for me,
okay.
right?
Yeah, fair
Not
enough.
saying college is not for me, but this environment is not for me.
Fairfield County for a young man from the South Bronx.
I was like, and my parents, I remember the one time when they did ask that question was when we went to Sacred Heart the first time. My Christian Morrison, the coach,
Yeah.
track coach, our coach,
hmm
right? He invited all of us to come up like the first couple of days before school started
hmm
and to meet everyone. It was like all the families. We coming from the Bronx, we didn't know where we were going. We arrived a little late. We had a table in the middle of the room. When I walked in there, when I say we were the only people of color in that room, and I'm talking about this was in the mahogany room.
Yeah.
This was like we had
It's a little
at
irony there.
least
A little irony.
like 20 tables,
hmm
and each table had like 10 people at it. There was one person that was of color. His name was Eddie Jai.
Eddie
Eddie
Jai,
Jai.
the
Yeah,
Kenyan
yeah, yeah.
sensation.
That's right.
Of course. How could
Eddie
you forget
Jai.
Eddie Jai?
Come on, I just remember these things because this is it's like a stamp in my life. I walked into that room, and that was the first time I felt like I was outnumbered in a way where like, I shouldn't feel outnumbered. We were in the same room, we were together, we were a team, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like it was gonna fit
Was
me.
the track team?
Yeah, it was a track team. We had a meeting right before track started
Okay. In the mahogany room.
in the mahogany
Got
room.
you.
Morrison said everyone come in, so all the families came in from all over.
I see.
We were like, I was like, Eddie Jai, you the only. He was all the way in the back.
And he was from Kenya.
Yeah, he came from Kenya.
Like
So
international student.
I connected with him, and I was like, how do you even do this? And
Well, he was a long distance runner.
Yeah,
so
he was. Yeah,
I remember him.
he was like, well, I don't really deal with it because I'm just dealing with this.
Exactly.
I'm
He
going
just-
miles. You finish fast, and you got to sit down here.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yo, man, I can't switch.
Was your high school an all black high school or?
Nah, growing up in the South Bronx, so it was a melting pot. There was even like Caucasians in there as well
Okay.
too, but Asians, Blacks, Spanish. There was predominantly Blacks and Spanish that were in there, but it was a little. It went all around.
Awesome.
Now it's a lot more diverse because of what the Bronx looks like right now. But at the time growing up, it was mainly Blacks and Spanish at the time.
Yeah. So again, not to toot your horn, but I just remember you as a very vibrant individual who, when you walked into a room, and not in an obnoxious way. There are some people who just talk all the time, and like they always have to be the center of attention. That wasn't you, but you got the same end result just by walking in and smiling.
And
Is that fair?
it's key that you say the word smiling because that's something that I pride myself on. Like people always say, Paul, what makes you special? What makes you stand out? I say it's my smile.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really hold myself accountable when it comes to my smile because that's one of the first things you could see from a distance. Before I even connect with you, before
Yeah.
I even shake your hand, before I even actually look you in your eyes and actually say, hello, my name is Paul Herman, I'm already smiling
Yeah.
and engaging from across the room. So
Agreed.
I've learned that business communication classes, that was one of the things they said, you got to say hello before you say hello.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how the hell you do that? I know you got to say hello.
Say hello.
No, they're like, no, you got to do it before. It's the way it's your demeanor, it's your energy, it's how
Sure.
you come across. So I really utilize my smile a lot of times when it comes to business, when it comes down to my lifestyle, when it comes down to like my movement in general.
Yeah. So it's no secret you were part of a fraternity,
Mm-hmm.
Omega Phi Kappa, right? Oh, can I say that on the
Yeah.
air?
Yeah, shout out to OPK.
Shout 'em out.
Multicultural Fraternity Incorporated. Shout out to the brothers. I see you.
That's right. So I like to. I don't know if it was self-proclaimed, but I like to think that I was an honorary.
I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that. There was a lot of work that you did behind closed doors to help us out as an organization,
Yes.
and for that I'm forever grateful.
And we focused on what? Diversity,
Yep,
being gentlemen,
yep, that's right.
and inclusion,
That's right.
and throwing a lot of parties and making money.
Oh man, unity and diversity leads to knowledge, but those parties led to a lot.
You want to quote like some Omega Phi Kappa pledge or something? I mean, this is your
Yeah,
show, man. We're just here to.
I think when it came to OPK, like there was a lot of life lessons that I learned from them. That was shout out to John Higgins.
Oh, you just beat me to it.
John Higgins, Kelly himself, Kels. If you listening, remember I'm still your best man, homie.
Omega
I wasn't his
Whisper,
best. Whisper,
right?
whisper.
That's right.
Yeah,
He's in my wedding. John was in my wedding.
Higgins, Edgar, Miguel.
By the way, it was Ed Mariconda
Yep, Ed
that
Americana.
proclaimed me, I believe, an honorary brother of the Omega Phi
look at
Kappa
Ed.
fraternity.
Giovino, Eric Wood. That was a dude I was always
VG
battling.
squared.
VG, Victor, Greg.
Greg.
Like there was a lot of guys I looked up to. Ben Adagidi.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are guys when I came to campus, like that was like a group of people that I was like, damn, like that's when I got to see like blacks, whites, Spanish, Asians, like all in the same building, like chilling. Like and everyone spoke the same language.
Yeah, well, everything you guys stood for was incredible, which is part of the reason that I aligned with your fraternity. I mean, there was other fraternities, obviously,
100%.
in the school and every fraternity had a cause.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we worked almost exclusively with Omega Phi Kappa on certain things, and we didn't let those other ones in.
That's right.
And actually, I don't know if I could say this, but I think I had a shirt. Or maybe it was one of those paddles that you beat them on. I was just told I couldn't wear it in public.
Oh man,
I think that's what it was. It's all a blur now, so I can deny
slightly.
it.
I mean, it's a couple years back, but you definitely did put in a lot of work for us and helping us like really gain a lot of leverage on campus and even off campus. I feel like you got a lot of people in position to give them jobs. That was one thing you were helping us find ways of like, because obviously work studies is like $10 an hour, right?
Yeah.
You were able to say, look, come promote for me. Here's some flyers.
Yeah.
Hand them out. I mean, obviously we didn't have social media, so flyers was the thing.
Yeah.
You had to hand them out, right?
Imagine guerrilla marketing. We were still doing guerrilla marketing, flyers, meeting you guys.
Going to
Higgins
stores.
did an unbelievable job, John. Orchestrating that, getting it out. We could do a party at the bakery on Main Street. We could
sell out.
Tell it
lines
the whole...
on a block. That was one thing, and I remember that's why I always loved you for this too, because you'd be like, "Look, Paul, you were one of those people at a very young age and seeing my career. You were like, there's something about him. He's an entertainer, right? I remember being out on the line. I remember we were at our bar or something, and you like normally as a promoter, head promoter too. You just don't even go outside because if you go outside, yo, Katana, what's up? Could you put me in?
Yep.
I remember you coming out numerous of times and being like, Paul, come. Let's go.
Yep.
You got to get in there now. It was like you were telling me.
Take care of my people.
You got to make sure Paul is in there because the music is right and he needs to dance. And I remember Manny the dancer.
Oh, come on. Of course.
Of course. Shout out to
Manny.
Manny the dancer.
We went out to lunch just maybe a few months back at Prime 111 right up the street. He's doing great.
Yeah, at the Honda.
He's at Honda, I believe, and he's doing pistol permit classes.
Yeah. This dude was
defend your Second Amendment.
I know, right? We were literally battling every night, sweating.
Yeah.
He was on top of the countertops, and I used to look at Manny like, this dude is a legend.
He is a legend.
Like
Manny's a legend.
Yeah, Manny the dancer.
Do you remember when I would clear the dance floor for you guys to do the OPK stroll?
Yo, every time you like, Paul, all right, Paul, you guys ready? And I'm like, what are we doing, G? Like, yo, Paul, you got to do the stroll.
You would have a dance floor with 1,000 people. I don't care. You go over there, make room.
Yeah.
It'd be 10 or
you would be pushing people to the side. Like, you would be backing up to people. Excuse me, back up.
Yes.
They're coming through.
Oh,
and I would be in the front of the line like, yo, G, we don't got to do this. And you're like, no. It's your show right now. I need you to do it. But I appreciate you for doing that because you made sure that I and my fraternity and organization had the pride that we had for strolling and stepping, which is something that we hold very close to us for that we've learned over the many years. You were like, this is the platform to do it in front of them.
Yeah.
I want you to get out all those kinks and don't be afraid.
It was awesome to watch though. Seriously, you guys.
In sync.
In sync.
And I used to be like, okay, I got a team.
Yeah.
This is my first team, right?
Yeah.
Because, it was just Brian and myself. We was a duo, dynamic duo. It was like Batman and Robin. Then I got to OPK, and I got all these guys.
Right.
And I'm coaching and strolling and stepping.
That was awesome.
I was like,
it was awesome.
This is good.
It was awesome. What did you learn from the college days about business, whether it was something that we exposed you through the bars or something in school? What did you learn about business and entrepreneurial spirit? Like, what did you learn from your college experience?
I think something I learned from the classroom environment was knowledge is power, right? Just being in that classroom, I remember sometimes I used to be like, all right, what were we talking about? But there was a lot of teachers that had some like wisdom, so that were dropping gems. That's one of the first times I started to realize what gems really were, right? Just being in that classroom environment. Peter Moresco, Fran Gould, Bridget Lyons. These are some teachers or professors that were like literally when they would talk, some people were like, all right, what are we talking about? But then literally they were talking about things that were like essential in order to go. Dr. Stephen Brown, right? When he talked to me a lot of times, he'd be like, look, Paul, this, and he would say stuff, and I would walk out of his office. I'm like, I don't even know what he said. But then 2 weeks later, it made sense to me, right? On the entertainment side and the bars and those types of parties that we were in, it was about those relationships, building relationships. Because when you build strong relationships, you have someone that has your best interests.
Yeah.
You have someone at the front door that was counting the money that literally you could trust. When 10 stack was in front of her or in front of him, you're like, they're gonna give you the 10 stack.
Yeah.
They're not gonna give you the 7
Right.
and keep the rest, right? You had people who were promoting that you would give tickets to and sell, and being and expecting them to show up that night and be like,
the
look,
money.
you got to grab the money.
Yeah, we had some rough experiences with people we didn't trust. Never with the burgundy and cream.
Nah.
But we did have some tough people that we couldn't trust, right?
Yeah.
And we were always trying to figure out where the money went.
That's where we had like Butch.
That's right. That's why we had Butch.
We had Butch. Shout out to Butch.
Where's
yo.
Butch? We're gonna be tagging a lot of people when we put this thing out there.
We had Butch out there who was just hemming people up at the door. Butch, you a big boy, man. He still be working out in the gyms. I know
Oh
that.
yeah, he's still local. I think he's still in Bridgeport. I got to reach out to Butch. So we talked about the fraternity. Why did you join a fraternity? What motivated you, or what led you in that path to join a fraternity in college?
I think when it comes down to just joining an organization, I feel like the main thing for me was I needed to start kind of getting planting my roots at the university. I knew that when I graduated, a lot of great things were going to come my way because of the connections I was making. But I wanted to make sure that I had something to come back home to. Like, instead of being like, people graduate from schools and be like, I'm done, it's over. At least like with my high school, I could go back and be like, go see my old school, high school track coach and be like, hey, Mr. Griff, how you doing? How's the team doing? Like having that connection versus being like, I'm in and I'm out kind of stuff. Other things in life, you could do that. But I think that especially when it came to the university, La Hispanidad, Emoja, the International Club, Omega Phi Kappa, campus ministry. Like I was heavily involved.
You were involved. Yeah, you were everywhere.
Orientation leader.
Yep.
How
much fun was that, by the way?
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
It was a lot of fun. I did it 2 years.
With Deidre.
Yeah.
I was like, and all these Joel and all these people that were orientation leaders. I learned a lot. And I felt like the more I got involved, the more I learned about myself and I learned about what life really could look like for me.
Yeah.
Because every organization provided something different. Campus ministry got me involved with understanding like giving. Right. Being an OPK,
put other people before you.
100%. Being an OPK, it taught me about like how to make money out of no money.
Okay.
Like we were like, Gaetano told us that we only have 20 tickets, but if we up the price of the tickets, right, because it's the last day, we can make $5 extra. So we learned how to flip. On that, when it came down to like, international club, I learned about different cultures, different cuisines, different foods and stuff, which it did help me out when I went on tour.
Yeah.
Being able to be like, oh my gosh, I remember my friend who's from Dominican Republic and now I'm in DR. Oh my gosh, I remember she told me that I should have this cuisine when I go there, or this is the street that I should go to. So a lot of those things. I remember there was a girl named Nina.
I know who you're talking about.
Not Nia Peru. No, that's Nia Peru. Up in career development, but
she was Greek, right?
Yeah, Greek.
Yeah, I remember.
She used to tell me about Spain all the time.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh yeah. And there was another girl in there as well too that used to talk about like India. I never went to those places, but it was one of those things where I was like, oh, the amount of love that they had for their culture, it kind of like bled into me. So by the time I got there, I was able to, when I went to Portugal, I went to Russia, Spain, Italy. Well, not Spain. I'm sorry. Italy
on tour, right?
On tour.
So talk about a tour. Tell us who did you go on tour with? What I mean, you basically mentioned a couple, but tell us about some of the people you went on tour with and the places you were able to visit through this dance talent.
So in 2007, we got our first big break. My brother and I, we did a music video with an artist by the name of Kat DeLuna. She had a big song called "Wind Up" featuring Elephant Man. And it was
huge.
Yeah, it was a massive hit. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kat DeLuna and the whole team for helping us out and kind of paving the way for us. So when we got on that opportunity, that's when we met Tanisha Scott. And Tanisha was the head choreographer, and she was like, these guys got something. There's something about these guys.
Yeah.
And at that time, Kat was looking for dancers, and she was like, look, I can't pay you guys a lot, but could you guys be a part of this? Now, I know the value of investing. I think I learned that from obviously being in college.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was a girl who was a singer, who had a look, who was hungry, and she had a team of people who was hungry for her as well too.
Yeah.
So I decided to just
do it.
Do it. So we were making not in a bad way, but we was probably making like $50 a show. Mind you, we driving to Philadelphia.
Right.
Driving the gas alone was 50.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so we
You're
would
doing it for the love. You're doing it
mhm,
for the potential and the
the potential.
exposure and what you could leverage with it later.
And down the line, it worked out.
Yeah.
Kat made us. We became her dancers, and then from there we became her choreographers, and then we became her creative directors.
So are those like if somebody says, "Oh, I love dance and I want to make a career out of it," right? Can they earn enough to do that as their full-time gig?
Yeah.
Like when you were doing that for Cat DeLuna, was that enough where you could just do that, or did you have to supplement?
Um, you being on tour is its own check. It's like its category. So think of in business and life, they always say that you have to have 7 streams of income. So
Yes.
the tour is only one stream,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I love that.
So you, as a dancer, they don't teach you that. We just think that the one stream is the one stream,
Okay.
right? Not knowing that the one stream, like so right now, well, matter of I give an example. Justin Bieber's dancers right now, right? They're on tour with Justin Bieber, right? But when they're on tour, they visit other studios in that area and do a workshop.
Oh, I see.
So now they're getting paid to do the show that night, but that afternoon they're in a studio teaching 200-300 kids
Right.
and making that
So
money.
who sets that up? Is that a manager? Is that
Sometimes you have a manager, sometimes you have an agent, or sometimes they do it themselves because it's just something that they're like, look, we're gonna be in LA. Why don't we hit up Millennium?
maybe can I get an 8th stream of income and be your manager?
Oh, gee,
Man, I
man.
think that's the
You're-
opportunity I missed in my life.
It's funny you saying that right now.
I think that's the opportunity I missed.
uh,
Story of my life.
I think now that's something very big in press play that I'm really looking into now. Like I'm very, very cautious and mindful of who I bring in around my energy because press play is solely me now. Like
Yeah.
it's not like the double up movement, which I love dearly. And I'm saying my brother and myself, like just building that from the bottom up.
Double Up was you and your brother
hmm
teaching.
Yep.
You had a dance studio
Yep. All that.
in Fairfield.
Yep. Fairfield. We had dance companies. We had a scholarship program. There's a lot of things that came from there. So now with Press Play, my goal now is to find some type of like that management or in a sense
Yeah.
to kind of like help out because there's a lot of like inquiries coming
Yeah,
in
I'm
now.
sure.
Especially now since the studio, sad to say, we had to kind of close it down because of the pandemic. There's been a lot of
I'm gonna bring it back to Monroe.
yeah, I know, right? Bring it to Monroe.
do it.
Man. I know,
I
right?
got the space.
Just to let you guys know, if you ain't see the space, I'm letting y'all know it's official. It's official. I got the tour today. It's nice. It was like a little MTV Cribs. We just need the cameras on us.
We just needed the cameras, right? We're gonna have to bring Darius with us.
yeah,
next
yeah.
time.
Shout out to Darius. I mean,
That's right. Making sure we look good.
yeah, 100%. He got me good today.
Yeah.
He got me good. I'm saying I'm just wearing the green. The green is just complimenting it.
The green looks awesome. So,
All over. But to answer that last question,
Yep.
I went all over. All these different places, passports stamped up like crazy.
so the Cat DeLuna tour was the
Yeah.
main tour that you did.
her world tour. Yeah, it was big, man. It was like big stages. We went to like the Zenith Theater. I remember and performing in front of 10,000 plus people.
So you get a rush? Is that like a
It felt like being at the Armory
really?
back in the track days where
Wow.
we were just banging on the thing. And you're like, we were opening for Chris Brown on his show, and I remember Chris was like at the curtains, like trying to look and peek out into the audience, but you can't really see how many people are there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's too big.
And when we got out there and all you hear is like the screaming and the roaring, the lights turned on and you saw like thousands of people in this massive arena. Think of Madison Square Garden kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
And I'm like, I was just a kid from the Bronx.
yeah.
And it was just the three of us. It was Brian, Kat, and myself. There
Yeah.
wasn't really a lot of DJs behind us or a band behind us because a lot of times it was like, she was like, it's us. The three of us are going to hold it down.
Yeah.
We're going to show them how big we're going to be.
And that was a huge hit, right? Did she come up with anything after that? Or
Oh,
did
she came over run the show with Busta Rhymes. That's how we met Lil Wayne as well, too. When
Okay.
she did a song with him. We were on a video shoot with him for Kat. But yeah, she had a lot of great songs.
Yeah.
But a lot of her songs were really big in Europe.
Okay.
She had a large European following. Like,
Okay.
I'm talking about people were spending money to have her come out. One of the biggest shows that we did, we performed for the Olympic Russian team after the Winter Games.
Okay.
They actually said, we want Kat.
Okay.
So they flew us out to Moscow.
Okay. We boycott that now.
Right. I know. Woo. Right. They flew us out to Moscow. And what happened was that they brought us out there, put us up in these hotels, nice hotels. And we went to the Red Square. We visited. And we went into this building. I was like, yo, this is like a castle. They took our phones away because we couldn't take pictures. And I went inside and he finally was like, yeah, these are the people who came back as medalists.
Wow.
I'm like,
So you dance for them.
yep. I was like,
Wow.
I'm dancing for an Olympian right now.
Wow.
So that was like one of my biggest highlights on that tour, being like, and it was during New Year's. So we celebrated New Year's in Russia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So with the balls dropping in Russia, I'm calling my family members up like, hey, yo, Happy New Year's. The ball's not even dropping here yet.
Mm-hmm.
And but when I was on stage, in a sense, I was like, damn, like she just won gold.
Yeah.
Gold medal,
Yeah.
gold in the world.
In the world.
Not even like you just an amazing athlete. No,
Yeah,
no. You in the world.
In the world. Yeah.
And just recently, not even like there's a steps. There's like you go to Google and they're like, oh yeah, you're the fastest on paper. No, I'm talking about this is it. Like you just came home with that goal, so it was an honor to have that.
So that whole experience dancing on tour and for all those artists, you know, you fast forward, you're out of college now. Did you ever have a 9 to 5?
Oh my gosh! Shout
Let's talk about that. Tell me about your 9 to 5 history.
Well, I started doing corporate America. That was one of the things I fell in love with at a young age. I worked when I was younger, growing up in the South Bronx. I had internships at HBO Sports, HBO Travel, Citibank, through a program that was for like high school kids that were like really inspiring to get into the business world. Then I went after graduating from college. My first job was at a company called Direct Buy. It was the largest buying company in the world. They leverage like all the consumers to get the best pricing for the products, best products, right?
How old were you then?
21.
Okay.
21, came out the gate, 21. And that was the first time I was making like $70K plus at the age of 21. My rent was $400.
That's not some bad cake.
Oh, nah. My car paid off.
Steady money.
No, the college loans weren't coming in yet.
Okay.
Like, literally no credit cards. But I was taking that money and splurging. I was doing the most reckless stuff with it. $70K. I remember going to the bar, and there was
You buying Cristal? What were you doing?
Oh, no, I wasn't buying Cristal. I would find people who were celebrating something and just give them. I would say, whatever they want is on me. So mind you, a young dude, 21 in the game. I don't even drink, right? I don't even go to the bar and drink, right? I was all about my Shirley Temples back in the days.
Yeah, I remember.
You were like, Paul, you want a Shirley?
I'm Shirley Temple. I get that for my kids.
Yeah.
7 and 9 and 11.
Hey, look, I still ride with it. That's why I look like this. You know what I'm saying? So I remember going up to the bar and I'm like, yo, it's your birthday? Oh, it's your anniversary? Yo, guys, do me a favor. Put my card on file. Whatever they want is what they need. And people look at me and I'm like, who is this young man coming in here buying
That's
up the
awesome.
bar? And I would do that. And I was like, I felt some type of reward, but it wasn't like, it wasn't in the right way.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm just making this money and I'm just going to give it away to you for right now to buy drinks.
Yeah.
Not to invest
Well, that
in
was
yourself.
big for those people because if they're at the bar, they're maybe younger and that's what they do, right? A lot of people drink. But so you were like Black Robin Hood.
Yeah, 100%. I was robbing from the rich and still giving the poor.
That's what I'm saying. I love that.
Yeah, I was about that. Look, I got the green on too.
You got the green on too. You know what? You might want to incorporate that into your website somehow.
Ooh, the Prince of
Black Robin Hood.
Black Robin.
I like
really
that.
was taking that money and just dishing it back out.
That's what it's for, right? It's not about, people learn through their mistakes, right? So people, and I'm an example, right? There was a stage where, making money early, I was the car phase. It is the worst phase anyone could ever go through where you feel like you have to have a new car. Oh. And a year later, I'm sick of that. I want to go buy a Hummer. I'm going to get rid of that Hummer. I want to go buy an X5. I want to get rid of that. And
a Rover.
A Rover. Now you're playing in a game that you're never going to win because it's a depreciating asset, right? So as soon as you drive that thing off, you put 5,000 miles on it, you're done. So when you trade it in, it's foolish. And actually, the wealthiest people that I know, not the richest, but the wealthiest people that I know, their cars are over a decade old. Now, we're not talking about somebody who makes 150 grand working at a hedge fund or something like that. We're talking about wealthy people who make their money through multiple streams of income, right? Their money works for them. The people that I know who are the wealthiest, their cars are 10 years old or more. Okay, so I've been trying to emulate that. You don't need to always have, a brand new car because you can't keep up with that unless you have some kind of,
connection to do
Cristiano Ronaldo type money.
Yeah, you got to be raking in some dough.
You got to be raking in some dough. But to the average person who even does well and could be considered a millionaire, That's not a wise way to spend your money on cars.
There's so many other things, and obviously in school they never taught me that.
Yeah,
It
of
was like,
course.
this is business. This is what you gotta do. You multiply, you subtract, and that's it. Pay your taxes,
Yeah,
right? But the investment now, like when I got out of college, and I'm seeing it through the eyes of other people. That's why I was like happy to go on tour, because I got to see other cultures and how they live,
yeah,
and being like, wait, hold up, you actually, how'd you get this yacht? I'm on a yacht party talking to the owner of the yacht, and he's like, oh yeah, I have a laundromat, I have this. I'm
yeah,
like, wait, hold up, so
yeah,
you just don't
yeah,
work, you just don't do this?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's when I started to find out about the 7 streams. And then when I started to
yeah,
take more like leadership conferences and stuff out of college, I was like, where the hell I been at?
yeah,
You know, it felt like, I'm like, what they taught me in school was amazing. The
yeah,
business school was
yeah,
overall businesses
yeah,
was the thing. But now that I'm out of school, I'm like, what other tools can I get from
yeah.
it? Like, what are the things that I miss when I was there?
Yeah, school's great, but there's no learning like hands-on. Like you can experience success only by failing. You have to know what that feels like to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you got to do a dance in front of maybe 7 people at a bad nightclub, maybe to go on tour with Cat DeLuna in front of 10,000
Where do
and
we
really
do
say,
that?
okay, I made it.
It's you reminded me, you bringing me back. You gave us an opportunity to perform at Homecoming.
I did.
Yeah, it was Homecoming, and it was on Black Rock, Fairfield Avenue.
Fairfield Ave.
It
Was
was
it Black Rock and Blue, the Snickering Squirrel, a new
maybe
bar?
Maybe it was Snicker and
One of
Squirrel.
those places.
Snicker and Squirrel. If you were going down Fairfield Ave, it's on the right hand side.
yeah.
I think Snicker and
Yeah,
Squirrel.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I remember Brian and myself. You were like, "Yo, Paul, Brian, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's go!" Right? And we had our mix. We put our CD in, and everyone came back for Homecoming. They were like, "What's Paul and Brian doing?"
Yeah.
That's the. I think that was the year I came to Homecoming in a limousine.
Listen, who's better than you? You had a great experience, right? College, many years after.
Mr. Shoe,
Mr. Shoe, you won Mr.
twice.
Shoe?
Only one still to today.
I have a confession to make. I lost Mr. Shoe my freshman year.
Damn.
I got second place.
Damn.
And I brought out, there was a lunch man. I thought this was going to win. There was a lunch guy. His name was Vinny.
Oh, Vinny, yeah.
Vinny was a transvestite.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Vinny.
No judgment.
Yeah.
So he was part of my show. And I played RuPaul, supermodel, and he came out
Oh, wow.
to the Mr. Shoe. He did his show. But I lost. I lost to a senior who I think was an Omega Phi Kappa. So I'll let it.
Well, I mean, you were going.
I was a freshman though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, true. But hey, look, if you came in second as a freshman,
I did.
I think I did it. No, I did it. I did it my sophomore year. Freshman year, I didn't know what it was. But then sophomore year, and for the listeners right now,
Yeah.
the Mr. Shoe was like a beauty pageant for
men.
men at Sacred Heart University. So you had all different walks of life
Yeah.
that were on stage, whether it be the jocks or the nerds or
Yeah.
the flyest dudes on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So, I entered into it in my sophomore year. I won. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I
That
tried
needs to be on your resume.
Mr. Shoe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
That's not an easy thing.
When I went, it's funny, I went back to campus to do a motivational seminar
Mm-hmm.
for the school. I went to the Multicultural Center, and also I went to the business communication, one of the business communication classes. And some of the teachers like, wait, hold up, you're the guy, you're Mr. Shoe, you won,
Yeah.
you're the one. And I'm saying here, like, you remember that?
They do.
And then like Dean
They
Wilk was there.
Oh, okay.
He stopped into my presentation. Shout out to
Okay.
Dean Wilk. Shout out
Shout
to
out.
Wilkie. Yes.
That's right.
Dean Wilk was always on us when we were throwing these parties.
Yeah, I changed my cell phone 3 times in college because he was all looking for me.
Oh,
He
yeah.
said, for some reason, there's 9 buses at the commuter lot. Do you know anything about that? Just change my phone number.
Change the number.
Change the phone number.
Yeah, Dean Wilk, Denise Tibero.
Yeah, they were great. They were doing their job.
Amazing.
You know?
Yeah, they did exactly what they should have been doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's making sure the safety of the school was
100%.
there. And we were doing what we needed to do, provided that opportunity.
That's right.
And it was sometimes like literally, G, I'm sitting back now like, damn man, like we seen some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and not even in a bad way, but like seeing things like sometimes I'm like, damn, like the amount of effort, time, money that was spent, like the amount of flyers, the amount of parties,
The whole
the
thing.
amount of the platform. Think about how many people we saw a night.
Oh, it's
What in a sense you saw a night. I'm sorry.
it's ludicrous.
We talking about you were having parties on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes on
We started
Sunday.
on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, Tuesday.
We did
I remember
Tuesdays.
Scorpion Bowls was popping, right? Everyone had a
That's right.
Scorpion Bowl.
You remember the bowl?
Yeah.
And Dome.
So I'm saying here, like,
Mm-hmm.
in a matter of 6 to 7 days and within the week, you were probably seeing close to like 2,000-3,000 people
Yeah.
easily,
Mhm.
right? Think about that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's nuts. I mean, I'm grateful there wasn't crazy social media then. But I'm also mad because think about how much easier it would have been, right? Like I
Oh,
started out walking around, putting a flyer, walking up East
on
Hall,
someone's car.
underneath every door, and then the RA chasing me out, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to the parking lot, you wait for the thing to get out for the night to end, you put them on all the cars. That's called guerrilla marketing. And
Yeah.
real estate agents, now they're so used to. I'm going to do a video on social media, and that's good. It reaches a lot of people. But if you could incorporate guerrilla marketing too, go talk to people.
Mm.
Get out of your house. Go say, hey, how you doing? My name is Paul. I'm a real estate agent. I live up the street from you. If you ever want to sell your home, keep me in mind,
Yeah.
right?
No, that
So
was
you can't just
wow.
rely just kind of on the tech. But back with talking about the buses and everything, and like everything's perspective. So the administration at Sacred Heart would probably see it as okay. There's some people potentially underage drinking, which let's be
We
real,
can't
right?
stop
Like
that.
it is what it is. My perspective on it was I'm getting 500 kids safely to
To
where
and
they're
from.
going, and then I'm making sure they get back
No
okay.
one's driving in a car by
No one's
themselves. You
driving.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and the universities aren't necessarily going to market on their newspapers the amount of stomachs they pumped from kids drinking in their dorms, right? I don't think that ever made the
Yeah.
newspaper, right? So look, I was young, we were young, we did stupid things,
I
but
mean, you gotta always remember everything's a business,
yeah,
right?
right,
So you think about the I mean, think about the money just off the bus. People were paying people were paying like say $10 to be on the bus, right?
yeah,
To get from and then obviously you have to pay the buses and stuff, but you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about a bus of like 70, 50 people, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's $700. You're paying the bus what 250, probably 300.
yeah.
You were pocketing just off the bus five
It,
hundred
it,
dollars.
it was good money for a college kid, and then you
You
and
know,
then you
and
get
you 20, you 19, you 20.
yeah. Well, we talked briefly before the show. We worked with Vic and Greg, and Higgins was involved with a nightclub owner in Bridgeport, who later we found out was one of the biggest drug lords
Yeah,
in New England. And I was hanging out with him. I picked up his S500 with him, made cash deposits with him. The
yeah.
guy was murdering people. It's just, it's pretty well
You
known.
never know.
You don't know
Yeah.
but we were just, what did we know? We were so young. We just were like, hey, I'm gonna. And the night before our grand opening, he had Jay-Z there.
Mm,
So we met Jay-Z and Capone and Noriega, and I'm
yeah.
thinking this is just like
A normal
a guy from Bridgeport who
yeah.
bought a club, but meanwhile he was a bad guy, right? So that experience helped me. I mean, I was negotiating, right, with
Mm.
Pablo Escobar type of guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe obviously not Pablo Escobar, but
But on that
on that
level,
level.
in modern day times, like that's what we were talking about.
Exactly.
We talking about walking into a club and everything looks like a club, but there's so many other
Yeah.
avenues. Like there was the back room,
You
and
remember Innovations, right?
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, he was supposedly there was slaughtering of goats in the basement, satanic ritual
oh
type
yeah, I seen
stuff.
that in the
I mean, you
newspaper.
read the
Yeah,
newspaper,
there
so
was a lot of
yeah.
stuff. So
Oh,
you gotta think about back then, like, and the one thing I admire about you and the crew at that time was like y'all a good amount of y'all, I want to say, knew when to pick up and go.
mhm,
Like when people get real greedy
mhm.
and people be like, "Nah, we making money."
Oh no,
Is it
we
you?
moved that party quick.
Yeah, you. G would be like, "Yo, all right, guys, we're wrapping up shop right now. Let's
Yep,
go.
yep,
Everyone out before
yeah.
the cops come." And I'm like, "Yo, my man, it just started. Like we can make an extra 200 with the people out."
Yeah,
No,
nope. Time to
it's not.
go.
It's time to go. You got to know
Yeah.
when to call it. And like y'all knew when to call it quits. Like y'all were gambling
Hmm.
every night, and I'm on the sidelines
That's
helping
that's
y'all
a good way to look at it.
helping y'all gamble, right?
That's a good way
The
to
amount
look
of
at
times
it.
the cops came and stopped us,
Yeah,
knocked on the doors, and said, "All right, guys, you gotta stop, with a party or at a club or something like
yeah.
that because it's underage." I remember one time we was in a party, and I don't know if it was y'all hosting or somebody else, but like they checked everyone's IDs.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's IDs. We be in the club and the music would, and I'm in
Yeah,
the middle of the floor like going off, and they're like,
yeah.
"Everyone stop! The police are here. We need everyone to pull out your IDs
Yep.
and report downstairs one at a
Yes.
time." I think it was our bar in New Haven, and you would come down the stairs. And
Running out with the
yeah.
cash register under my
Oh,
arm. You've seen
yo,
that or Harborside? Do you
coming
remember
out the
Harbor?
back. Yeah, 100%.
I would run out with the cash register
Mm.
and say, "See you later."
Run out the back door into the parking lot and near the water,
That's
right?
right. That's
And
right.
just dip off and I
Okay.
hide the cash outside
That's right.
to then be like, "Look, we don't got nothing. It's a free party."
It's a free party.
Yeah.
Talk to the owner, the old guy in the corner.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
guy's like, "Oh, no, no, no," and then
yeah.
finally at the end, when everyone would clear away, you guys would go back to the bush. Like, where's the box?
One for Higgins,
Yeah.
one for OPK,
Yeah,
one for me.
yo.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But
It was fun,
it
right?
was
But
fun.
we have to grow up fast. We have to learn from all that stuff, and
But that helped us to become the people that we are now.
100%.
Like the
Yeah.
mindset that we learned. Remember, we had to figure it. There was no books telling us what to do at that time, right? So now we have books, and now we're studying these books. Now that we look back at the way we were moving back then, we were moving as entrepreneurs
Totally.
without even knowing.
We didn't know it, right?
No.
You don't know it. You don't know.
Not even, and obviously a class was helping us out. You want to flip money, you want to invest, and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of good stuff.
Good to
But
know.
like when we were in the game, we was in the game.
We were in the game. Yeah, and so you talk about relationships. It's come up a couple times, right? We talk about if you have to end a party, right? The reason we could do that is because if we had to start another one the next day, all we had to do
Yeah.
was use our network. Which was it MySpace back then, or was it
MySpace,
Instant Messenger, or what?
AOL,
AOL
AIM,
Instant AIM, right?
Mi
So.
Gente, and Mi Gente, Black Planet, and MySpace.
So I don't know about those. I only know about, you know what I mean? I
They
only
probably
know
had some
about-
Italian thing out there,
I only know
or
about
some
my-
Irish thing out there. I don't even know.
I know AIM and I know MySpace.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the social media now.
Nah,
I mean,
definitely not.
and
Click
now
of a
it's
button.
a problem. There's so many. Like we were just talking about, where do we put in the podcast? You know, we're on YouTube, right? Mainly right now. But, you know, if I put it on a million channels, I guess it's more exposure. But now I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to keep up with it every time I do one. So, you know, you got to think about all that now. But it always is like more is better. So people are just trying to get the word out and try to appeal to as many people and try to make a difference in someone's life. So what is most, you know, now that you've shifted to this your solo business, right? Without Bri.
Yeah.
Why did you start Press Play?
I started Press Play because, I felt like it happened during the pandemic. I felt like one of the things that was happening when the pandemic hit us in 2020, it hit the arts industry very hard. Like a lot of the people that I admired in the game really were like mentally like jumping off the cliff because they were like, there's no work for us. They're closing things down. They're closing Broadway. There's no shows. There's no auditions. And like the studios that we were working out of were closing down. So at that point, I was like, I got to stay motivated. But how do I stay motivated? One of the ways I did it was I actually started contacting my friends in Europe who were waking up obviously 6 hours in advance. When they were calling me at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning here, it was 1 o'clock their time. So their momentum was already at lunchtime while I was still laying in my bed. So I was already waking up to the energy of them, right? Then from there, what I would do is I would say, okay, like who can I contact from my friends and have like an intellectual conversations on how to figure out how to like get past this phase. And I must have connected with like at least 25 of them. Dancers, artistic directors, choreographers, studio owners, and literally just kind of like created some type of momentum to kind of get people moving. And that's how like the Press Play thing, the mentality is in life, there's people that want to rewind. Right? They want to live in the past. They hold grudges. They're always like, well, back in the days, I was this type of person, right? Then you got the people who like to fast forward, skip steps, right? They just want the fast money. They want the quick rewards. They're not really thinking too much about like how to create a foundation, right? Then you got the people who put their life on pause. They put it on pause because of a job, a relationship, a new addition to the family. Something happened where whatever they love as a passion kind of like sat back for them. Then you got the people who stop. Right? Those are the people who like they went through something in their life, maybe some trauma or not even trauma. They just kind of gave up on something that they truly love, and they think about it and they're like, "Oh, I could be that. I wish I was that person." I one day I'll go back to it, but they probably never will do it, right? And you got the people like myself and like yourself who are constantly press and play. And when you press play, you have to have that press play mentality. And having a press play mentality, once you press play on anything like a cassette tape or a radio, you actually have to listen. Because it allows you to listen because something is coming to you. So what I tell people to do is to start to listen to the universe a lot more. Listen to your intuition. Learn from that experience and not from like a book experience. Don't look like, well, he went to school here and he got this job. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, go to school there, but listen to the people around you. Move with the energy around you. Maybe you might realize that there's someone else to get that. So that's when I was like, that's how I'm going to start press and play. And I start coaching people to have a press play mentality.
So that's the story behind the name of your business. What do you say to a kid who graduates, say young guy graduates from Sacred Heart, says, I can't find a job. I'm living at home. My college loans are going to be starting in 6 months. What do I do? What do you say to that individual?
I say, well, you first off, you shouldn't be going into anything with the intention of like, I got to do this because of this. Like that's one of the first things I realized. I can't be like, well, I'm dancing because I need to make money.
Mhm.
You're already going in with with a intention that's not in the right direction,
Mhm.
right? I'd rather go into the scene and be like, hey, look, what am I doing? I want to try this, and if it doesn't work, I shift it here, right? For someone like that, I would tell him or tell her like, look, first organize yourself. There's oh man, I'm trying to remember in my press. I have a press play book, and I always give these things.
Mhm.
The first thing I'm trying to remember the 5 things. The first thing is you got to organize.
Mhm.
Organize your thoughts. And I probably don't even remember all of them in order. I do apologize. But organize your thoughts. Once you organize your thoughts, then you know where to go. Then the next thing is to prioritize.
Mhm.
Prioritize after you organize. Maybe they say, well, I want to apply here. I don't want to apply here. Maybe I do want a job. I don't want a job. They're gonna prioritize. The next thing is to strategize.
Mhm.
How to really make it work.
Mhm.
Like how do I capitalize on making this money?
Yeah.
The next thing is to maximize. You want to maximize the return. Every time you go in there, you give it 110%. So if that person got a job at McDonald's, it might not be the job, but let's maximize it. Let's
Yeah.
get as many hours as we possibly can. Let's get that check. And the last thing is to multiply it. Once you figured out what worked at McDonald's, take that same mentality and say, okay, now I'm going to apply for a different job that has a lot more high salary.
Mhm.
And not saying McDonald's doesn't have the high pay rates,
Yeah.
but organize,
Yeah.
prioritize, strategize, multiply, and organize.
Love it.
Those are the 5 things where I coach people on. And I
Yeah.
say, like, if you could follow these 5 things, I know it's brought me significant amount of success. And when I study
Yeah.
other people's success statures and how they made it, it literally goes in that order.
Yeah. And I love that analogy because a lot of people come to me as a broker now and say, "Oh, I want to be a broker." That's cool. You make money off people. I want to be like, I actually tell them, you better be careful because if you become a broker, you may become broker. And they sit there and they laugh, and I'm like, the real money in real estate, in my opinion, is in sales, right? So, making the decision to open a brokerage, it cannot be, I want to make money off people because if you're not careful, by the time I got an email last week said I need cybersecurity insurance for my business. The expenses, you take on all of that overhead, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a choice, right? I need to
A
keep with that.
building, employees,
Yeah, exactly.
insurance,
Taxes, right. And
Yeah.
as an agent, you could literally go out, sell 50 homes, make $500,000,
pay this person,
Yep.
pay your brokerage.
pay Uncle Sam.
Yeah, you
Don't
good.
forget Uncle Sam. You pay your taxes, and you're good. The real money in the business, in my opinion, is in the sales, right? But I love when people come to me and say, "Oh, it's so great! You have all these agents, you can make money." No, actually, I became a broker to help other people grow their business. The money will come. What's great about ultimately building a business is something that you could sell one day, whether it's opening up a dance studio. Eventually, you could
clutch.
sell the dance studio, right? So you got to have the right intentions, and I think that's great advice for you to give. If you haven't found the right job, maybe that student needs to find something to pay the bills until they know exactly what it is that they want to do. But you got to love what you do.
Yeah, that's one thing you gotta really, really. People go through life not loving that,
Yeah,
and I feel like that throws people off, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's sad to see people go through life not loving what they do.
yeah,
I can't see that. Like I feel like it hurts me sometimes to be
Yeah.
like around somebody who's miserable.
yeah. It's
Someone who wakes up and is like, oh my gosh,
negative
I
energy.
gotta go to work.
No
And
good.
I'm saying like, damn, like you got. I'm that kid. Remember back in the days when you would put your clothes out on the side of the bed before you had to go to like the field trip?
Yep.
That's me waking up to dance. I'm like, yo, what
Yeah.
am I gonna wear tomorrow?
Yeah.
What sneakers am I wearing? What
Yeah.
outfit I'm wearing? What song am I doing? What's the choreography gonna look
Yeah.
like?
Yeah.
Who's coming to class? Let me
Yeah.
message some
A lot of people don't do that though. They wake up and they're in a routine and
It's a wrap. man.
then they're miserable and that's
But it's common to do that.
Mhm.
That's really what happens. Like society has kind of programmed us to kind of be like,
Yeah.
this is the norm, right? The norm is actually to be happy.
Yeah. How much of a disadvantage do you think the COVID era has put on our youth, our kids who are not just college, but even go to high school? These are kids who, were learning from a computer, right? Their teacher was talking through a computer. They weren't interacting with people for 2 years. How much of an impact do you think COVID and this whole, last 2 years that we've been through will have on kids and trying to find what they want to do with their lives?
I think it's made a major impact in a negative way because obviously mental health is always a big thing. I think now we have to be very mindful of how much money and time we're spending into because sometimes with the mental health it's something that you experience as a child. You don't really see what actually happens until you actually become an adult.
Absolutely.
So I'm not a teacher, I'm not a specialist, I'm not a therapist, but I know progression, right? I know how to see things through and being like, this could potentially cause an issue, right? So you have not 5 kids, 10 kids. We talking about the whole world.
Hmm.
So think of if we're just gonna say, let's say during the pandemic, we're only gonna focus on the kids that were 5 years old.
Hmm.
Say there's 1,000,000 5-year-old kids. 1,000,000 5-year-old kids are going to continue to grow up. And at some point in their life, things are going to happen that might spark them or do something. It might be a bad relationship, it might be a bad job, it might be something, right? It might open up a can of worms with that one person. Now, if the 5-year-old kids keep growing and growing, and let's just say something is going to happen, life kicks in. This is not the last pandemic we're going through, right?
Hmm.
That 5-year-old is going to probably see it again before they hit 20, right?
Yeah.
And mentally, they might not be ready for that.
Yep.
And who knows? There's not enough Medicare and resources to help those people out. And sometimes the people who are looked at to get those types of help, like therapists and stuff like that,
Mhm.
are like laughed upon, frowned on. Like, oh man, you got a therapist? Come on, man.
We all should have a therapist,
Oh,
right?
100%.
What if
Shout out to all
every
the therapists.
What if everybody had a therapist? Would the world be better?
That's a good question. I don't know if it will work because one, you got to be open to your
Ah,
therapist.
good
That's
call.
one thing.
Good call.
Some people are not open enough
Hmm.
within their own personal self. So to have someone sit next to you who actually wants to listen and help
Yeah.
coach you through,
Counterproductive if they don't want to
um,
be there.
definitely not. And then the second thing, I think that you need to find the right person because I've sat down with several therapists or something like that in my time and had conversations and literally I don't even feel like they were helping
Okay.
because um they weren't familiar with it. So you have to find like if it's a coach to a love coach, if it's a relationships coach, a therapist, if it's
Find the
a
specialist.
a finance therapist, somebody you got to really find that person that
Yeah.
fits you directly. Once you
Yeah.
find that, yeah, set up those sessions, man.
Yeah. It's like finding your wife. You got to have the wrong one sometimes to know the right one right in front of you,
That is true. Then you get that nice big ring and you good.
and you're good.
Yeah, sooner or later that's gonna happen to me,
It's
man.
gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
Get lady in your life now.
Yeah, what I'm saying is out, when I think about it nowadays, life, I think the biggest lady in my life right now, I'm always gonna hold it down before I say anybody is my mother.
Of course.
That's it. I mean, I know sometimes people like Paul, your mom, and I'm like, in my studio, my family, my community. That's really truly my love of my life
Yeah.
right now. Like my passion is my love, and I want to really make sure that I really focus on that
Yeah.
and owning up to that
Yeah.
the way it is.
What you
Because
focus on expands. So it's smart to do that while you're young, and then you can, start all these business, all these life experiences that you've had is only going to help you
focus energy
grow.
is the best energy, man.
Absolutely. Who would you say is your biggest mentor or role model in your life? Who's made the biggest impact on you?
One of them is my brother,
Okay.
Brian. Brian,
Breezy.
yeah, I think Brian himself, because Brian has his own ups and downs, but I've been through a lot with Brian, good and bad, that literally I see exactly how I need to be better,
Hmm.
right? And whether it be like coaching, mentoring, entrepreneur,
Hmm.
he holds me accountable a lot of times to a lot of those things. So I appreciate him for that. My father,
Hmm.
right? Paul Herman Sr.
Senior.
Yes, roots man, we call him and thing, big man, brethren and
Oh,
thing.
nice.
Yes.
Love that.
Roots man, yeah, I call him. He's always been like with no college education. This dude put us all through college.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't even know how the man did it.
Yeah.
Like
Amazing story.
he did a lot for us, And then the people that I haven't really met yet, but I would love to. I would say is my 3 people that I kind of like. If I had to put myself in like categorize, if they had kids, I would be the kid. Kevin Hart. I love Kevin because I love how he's able to multitask.
Hmm.
He has an amazing team, but he's like an actor, a comedian. He moves, he bounces around. I love that about him, and he's a family man as well too. He's all about that. The next one is Usher. He's a performer. He's an entertainer.
You move like Usher.
Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's like Michael and Kobe.
Oh,
It's Usher and Paul. Is that fair?
I mean,
Is that fair?
woo.
Just roll with it, man.
Oh, I
Just
respect
like the
that. Thank you
Black
for the
Robin Hood.
thank you, man. Thank
Do
you
a
for that.
blog or
That's why I got
something.
the green on,
That's why you got the
man.
green on.
Yeah, Usher will be the next, and the last person because of his swag and because of that old sensation he brings,
Hmm.
Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I'm.
Right, so that's a man who practices his choreography,
Oh yeah, no,
right?
he
That's
definitely.
not a Dre or Eminem or just sitting up there.
Nah, he ain't rocking right to left. He
Right.
actually gonna rock.
He's rocking the right
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
If you had to go back and change something or do something different, what do you think you would do differently?
It's a good question.
Good question.
Oh, what would I do differently? Ooh, I think there was some relationships in my past that like if I could go back, I would really try to amend them. Like make sure that they did that what I did or the relationship that I had with those individuals was a lot stronger.
Hmm.
You know, it could have been a mentor, it could have been a significant other.
Hmm.
You know, just knowing that like not to be an opportunist in that relationship, but knowing that like they were in my life for a reason, and maybe I didn't really fully get to see it through because I didn't open up or because I didn't really commit to allowing it to happen.
Okay, so you would treat your relationships differently. You never burn. You're not a burn bridges guy, are you?
I mean, in the past, I probably
Yeah.
definitely burned a lot of bridges, but
Hmm.
I've tried to amend a lot of those bridges
Good.
and make those connections. There's been, several people that I still connect with. One of them recently, I started to amend that relationship a little bit more, having conversations with him. But there's a lot of those times. I mean, as a young man, coming up in the city, my father was a role model, but it wasn't like he broke these things down to me. It was
Yeah.
like he was out there working,
Right.
work hours after hours, 40 plus hours a week,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like he could sit down and be like, young man,
Hmm.
this is what you gotta do in a relationship. This is what I'm saying. It wasn't like that as much. He did it over time, but it wasn't like a constant thing. But
Okay.
I'm happy for the relationship that he gave to us, and I learned through other people's experiences, and I am where I am right now.
And you're doing it big, and I'm super proud to have
Thank you,
watched you come
thank
into
you.
Sacred Heart and make a name for yourself real quick. Now you're turning that name into a business, and it's been awesome to kind of just watch. And now that obviously many years have gone by, social media is what allows me to enjoy your success, kind
Thank
of
you.
watching back. So it's great to see all the success you're having. What types of events are you available for if people wanted to hire
Mm.
the Prince of Motivation? What types of things are you available to do for groups or schools? Like what is your
It,
focus on now with this new business?
I want to say it goes back to the five things. Um, MCing. So if it's
Okay.
like bar mitzvahs, weddings, people hit me up about hosting. Sometimes people ask me to host some of their podcasts, or to host like a fashion show or a corporate event or something like that. Just being like that entertainer on the stage,
Hmm.
like to kind of fill up time and space before the next thing comes on.
Okay.
Um,
But
the-
that's a true MC role.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
great.
like you switch it out from the MC role. I'm when I'm an MC at a party, I'm like in the middle helping people dance.
Yep.
But then when I'm hosting, I'm on stage, like actually, all right, next person coming on the stage is, blah blah blah, who's gonna be giving out an award for boom.
Hmm.
Then the next thing that people could book me for is mentorship. So if people, I work closely with entertainers, I mean, sorry, entrepreneurs, athletes, and artists.
Okay.
Those are because of the background that I have, so people could contact me and I could help work with them on either their content, help work with them on establishing their business, help them understand like what is some of the things that I would do to help scale that business.
Okay.
Or even like sometimes athletes that I work with, they're like, you know what, I need to find a way to get seen.
Hmm.
How do I do that? And I
Sure.
would help them out.
Exposure.
Then is the movement. People contact me to do private lessons a lot of times. First dances, weddings. I'm very big on those things
Yep.
as well. And then also like conventions. People contacting me for that.
Schools.
Yep. And then lastly is the motivational speaking.
Yep.
A lot of universities and schools, organizations like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Clubs, they contact me and say, "Look, Paul, we need you to come speak to our youth or speak to our adults as
Mhm.
well too."
You recently spoke at Harding High School.
Yep. Harding High
Saw
School.
that.
Harding
Um,
High School. I went out to also Hoboken High School
okay.
in New Jersey. Then I went to Sacred Heart University.
This is
Um,
all fairly new. Press Play is how old?
2020, when the pandemic started
Pandemic,
off.
okay.
Yeah, so 2020, I started popping it off.
Yeah.
And then I started off on my birthday. October 17th is when I came out official to the world. Like, yo, look, Press Play is an official thing.
Mm-hmm.
So October 17th, 2020, then I saw 2021 was the year to kind of like test the waters.
Okay.
And now 2022, I'm just looking to inspire.
Awesome. Expand and grow.
Yeah, man.
All right. So if I want to contact you, some of our viewers want to get you, what's the best website, channels, phone number, email? Throw it out there. How can we get you?
Boom. That's right, team. If you really want to find me in the Prince of Motivation right here, make sure you check me out at Press Play Motivation on all my social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You can check me there. Email me, pressplaymotivation@gmail.com, or check me out on my website, www.pressplaymotivation.com.
All right.
Again, guys, I'm the Prince of Motivation, and it's always a pleasure press and play with you guys.
I love every second. Appreciate you coming on.
Gee,
Thanks for tuning in. The Expect Better podcast, hosted by Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. I'm your host. We'll see you next time. Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you, team. Thank you, G.
Let's roll.